This is the Filmy McFilm Film Show.
Oi, oi, son.
Oi, oi.
What's crack-a-lacking?
Nothing much. How are you?
I'm not too bad. And we're here today to talk about A Woman Under the Influence, written and directed by John Cassevete, starring Gena, Rowland, Peter Falk, and Fred Draper. But mainly just those first two. I don't know who Fred Draper is even. I just read that off IMDb, if I'm honest with you. Peter Falk, of course, is from Columbo fame.
Yeah.
This is the only other thing I've ever seen him in.
No, I mean, I was watching it and I was like, do you know when you like recognise someone but you just can't put your finger on it?
Oh, really? Yeah.
Shit, yeah, it is Columbo, isn't it?
Because you've not seen this film before, had you?
No, it's the first time I've ever seen it, so kind of good to review films that you haven't seen. Kind of puts a fresh take on it.
Well, also good to do is to review a film or just watch a film you haven't seen in about 15 years. Because I seem to always say 15 years on that, but I went through a spurt. You know how you go as a film buff? You watch films all the time, but when you're in your teens, that's when you really just incessantly... You have more free time and you've just discovered films, so you just fucking... And you might have been like a fucking Larry like me, because I'd had so much free time, but I just went through so many movies, and that's when I watched a lot of them. But A Woman Under the Influence, it's interesting. Watching it back then, I was kind of surprised by a lot of stuff this time. Firstly, I'd completely forgotten that she cheats on him in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, she does.
Which kind of threw a spanner in the works, because I was a bit like, that really makes it hard to not hate her a bit throughout the rest of the movie. And I'd also forgotten how much he slaps her about.
That was another thing. And the racist language. There was quite a few bits of racist language.
Was there? Like what?
Because I'm trying to
remember that.
I'm trying to remember it. Like, basically, he's...
This wasn't just going on in the background of your house.
No. He's kind of away at work doing whatever he's doing all the time and leaves her to her own devices.
Yeah. And
then obviously she has some sort of mental health problem. This is what
what's the racial stuff though? What do you mean?
I don't know. I think there's kind of like a lot of black guys that he works with on the I call it building site. I think it's railways or something.
But he says something about him.
Yeah, he says something about a Mexican or something like, you Mexican animal or something like.
It was just joking among friends, I think.
Yeah, but it was quite like shocking at the time. Like, I suppose in 1974 when it was released, it's like,
I don't particularly remember that, but
yeah.
I mean, I only remember him having very good relations between the people he worked with. Like, he seemed like kind of like a guy people liked and respected, so I'm assuming that was just banter and stuff. But yeah, I was kind of I didn't remember these things from the first time, and I was kind of shocked by it. But what I did remember was the spirit of the movie, which for me is one of the most weirdly life-affirming movies I've ever seen, where you really solidly, at least I do anyway, get behind them as a couple and the weird scenario they're in. And also, I have a thing for odd romances. Not necessarily toxic romances, but I like unusual romances in movies and how they play out. And I enjoyed the fact that this was essentially the opposite of Silver Linings Playbook, where it kind of paints mental illness in this sort of romanticized light. I'm talking about Silver Linings Playbook now. Which I loved it as a movie, but, you know, alright, they're mentally ill and it plays up in some ways, but it really doesn't. Like, for the most part, they're fairly functioning people, and they're both beautiful, and, you know, wherever they get together and it all works out. Whereas this, obviously in this, only Mabel is mentally ill, but it really is just torturous, and it's so uncomfortable at moments.
Yeah, to be honest, I found that watching it yesterday. I couldn't, if I'm honest with you, I couldn't even do a whole sitting of it, because...
What was getting you?
Well, number one, I was like, I didn't know anything about this, obviously.
Did you even look up anything before you put it on?
No, so you said basically, you know, this is what we're reviewing. I went into the office, like, done quite a long day at work, so I was like, right, I'm going to obviously watch the film now, because I've got...
You're crossing your fingers thinking, I hope this is a light-hearted comedy.
It won't work. kind of thing. And then like it was torturous, and you know I kind of got where it was going to go, as you said in the first 15 minutes, where she cut Mabel kind of goes out to the bar and she's drinking, and then that. Would I call him a creep? No, I wouldn't call him a creep. She kind of attaches onto him.
I mean, she's clearly very drunk, but she also completely
gets onto him.
Yeah, and I also just think, you know, the idea of what is creepy back then again probably would have been different. Like, I don't think he would have even passed it. Or to be fair, actually, no. Because when they get to the house...
Yeah, there's one bit...
I forgot about that bit.
There's one bit in a car where she's, like, passed out.
Oh, yeah, and when he's bringing her in, he's saying, can you stand?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, he's like...
Yeah, no, he is creepy.
He's like, are you okay, darling? Like, come on, wake up. Like, and I was like, oh, God, this is not going to be...
Yeah, no, it was... Because she was literally saying, get off me, once they get inside as well.
Yeah.
But also... But here's my thing with that is, I was nearly annoyed it was in there, because I remembered more or less how the rest of the movie goes, but it fucked with my concept of how I felt about her, because I really like her in the movie, even though she's crazy. Her sweetness in a lot of ways comes through, and she is, you know, she's not a bad person. She's volatile just because she's mentally ill.
Yeah.
But it, like that, doing that right at the start makes you just be like, how am I supposed to root for you?
Yeah.
But then again, I think maybe that's intentional by the director and the writer, because that is the point. Like, you're essentially, you're trying to put yourself in Nick's position, where he is always backing his wife, no matter what. And he gets her and he loves her, or at least tries to get her. But that is the uncomfortable, obviously. It's not the happy, sewed up, everything's okay, silver lining playbooks version of mental illness. She is a mess, and she will do things that she doesn't even really understand why or what she's doing. Like, when she cheats on him, it's not malicious. She just kind of finds herself doing something, and then in the morning she starts refusing to acknowledge that he's even a different person and calling him Nick.
Yeah, so she wakes up and is like, Nick! And then locks herself in the room, and he's like knocking on the door. The poor geezer's like, who's Nick?
Yeah.
Are you married? Like,
and the one reason why for a second I was saying he's not creepy, but he was creepy. He was gross what he did. But when he has that little moment alone where he's like, oh, I just can't keep a woman.
Yeah.
It made him endearing for a moment.
He's outside the door and he's like, oh, it's happened again. Like, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it all starts because obviously they, for whatever reason, they send the little kids off with the mother.
Well, it starts off and they're having a night alone. So obviously the kids are being sent off to hang out with the mum.
Yeah.
Hang out with, Mabel's mum, who is, the actress that played Mabel's mum is the mother of the actress playing Mabel in real life.
Oh, really?
Also, the mother of Nick is the mother of the writer and director.
Really?
Yeah, so a bit of a
trivia
nepotism going on. But yeah, so they get sent away and Nick gets held up at his job, and that's when she goes off.
Yeah.
It's not a movie where basically every now and then we're going to be recapping an event, but it's not a strict plot movie, is it?
No, there's not really much of a plot in it. I think it's just their day-to-day Nick and...
Do you want to hear something interesting?
Yeah.
I assumed automatically this was a very improvised movie, because it has that feel where it has that extreme realism sort of vibe to it, where there's not witty lines of dialogue or anything like that. Like, people are talking over each other at times, and it's a typical slice of life, fly on the wall sort of conversations, almost documentary style. But it was apparently, according to an interview with the director, it was scripted to the T. Every single line was completely scripted beforehand and written down.
It never felt like that.
No, it doesn't at all, does it?
No.
Almost to the point where, from what I've seen with interviews with Peter Falk and some of the other actors in it, they never strictly say, oh, we improvised a lot of lines. But the vibe they give was that it was a free sort of, you don't know what's going to happen next sort of atmosphere on set. So I don't know if maybe that was a false line that the director gave, or that it was misreported, or he just... I don't know. You're getting slightly conflicting information, but according to him, it was completely scripted.
Yeah. No, I was surprised about that, because the way they were going back and forwards, as you said, it seemed like, well, a lot of the characters in it seemed very dysfunctional. Like even was it Mabel's mother or Nick's mother that takes them away to drives them off? Like she seems like a lot of them just seem like very bad hypochondriacs. Like,
well, what did you finish that sentence? What did you think of her, the mother?
I thought she was a bit of a shambles as well. Like, she bring their kids home early, and basically she wakes up. The mum, the Mabel.
So you're talking about Mabel's mother?
Yeah,
right.
And Mabel's like, "Why are you here?"
Yeah, but did you trust that she actually brought him home early, or did Mabel just be weird?
That's a good point. And then she was like, "Oh, was they being annoying or something?" And she was like, "Oh, yeah, like blah blah blah." Like,
well, it's an interesting dynamic it sets up at first, because you can tell Mabel's mother's almost scared of Mabel.
But yeah.
She's a bit of a flighty little bird.
That's what I mean. Like, she's very like scatty.
Yeah,
like,
and Mabel is funny because the vibe I get off her is that her favourite time, even as much as she loves her kids, even she doesn't even want them around half the time. She wants to always be just alone with Nick.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's when she can that's when she doesn't have to put on any kind of mask of being trying to resemble a normal person. She can just be a fucking wacko and feel a bit relaxed with it. Because she's nearly like wanting to get her kids out of the house.
Yeah.
And just hang out with them. But then as soon as the kids are gone, she's immediately like, oh, no, I miss them. And she can't wait to see him again.
Yeah. I mean, Nick is a very interesting character, because one minute he's being a hard ass and like saying he's going to beat everyone up, but like every 10 seconds like, I'll knock you on your ass. And then when he
threatens to kill another man's kids and his own kids at different points.
And then, you know, when he's with, to a certain extent, when he's with Mabel and his own kids, there's moments where he's like very raw and, you know, actual touching. Like, you can tell he loves them, like, unconditionally.
So I took it as he is a man who loves his wife so much and his family so much and has nearly unlimited patience to try and manage the situation. But it's not unlimited. Everyone's patience and everyone's willpower and everyone's ability to cope with something is limited, and he reaches his limit in the movie and he starts to snap more and more as the movie goes on. But you also got to think of it in the context of he's a blue collar guy in the 70s, would have been probably born in the 40s.
True, yeah.
Or the early 50s. He wouldn't have even been raised in time for the hippie culture and movement and all that and stuff. And he's not been equipped with the knowledge of mental health that we have today, and he doesn't have the emotional muscles to really relate to that. So all he can do is, at times he's literally, he wants her to feel okay and comfortable. He's not saying, do this, or do the right thing, or behave this way. He's shouting at her. He wants her to be herself and feel okay being herself. But he doesn't know how to relate that in any way other than yelling at her. And he's literally, there's points in the movie where he pulls her out of the room when they're hanging out with people to shout in her face, be yourself, don't worry about them. But obviously that's not going to work.
I mean, two of my favourite scenes is like, well, I wouldn't call them my favourite scenes. It's like good play by Nick, where number one, like, he doesn't know what to do when she's having one of her manic episodes, so he's like, just slap her around the face and see if that works. And the second thing that kind of really shocked me out of all of it is when, for some reason, they're in the back of his truck coming home from the beach.
Oh yeah.
And he's like just cracked. He's like, I'm gonna get in the back with the kids.
Well,
then he goes to the driver. Do you want a beer? And the driver's like, well, no, because I'm driving. He's like, I'm getting in the back. He just starts drinking beers, and the kids are like, can I have some? It's like, yeah, not too much. And he lets each one of them have like 3 massive sips, and they're all drunk. Like,
well, you're not sure how many sips they have, because it's cutting to where they're clearly on new cans as well.
Yeah, I know. Like, and literally,
and once they get home,
he's like,
he's
can you
like,
walk?
Do you not want to stay up?
Yeah.
I'm going to be downstairs if you want to hang out. And they're all like, oh, you don't want to eat? Oh, no. And they're all just like, no, I'm going to sleep.
and then they're trying to get off the truck, and he's like, he specifically says, can you walk? So they obviously like drunk clothes.
See, the best way, so we don't have to constantly be given the context, is I'll just give a run through of how the movie goes. So the first half of the movie spans over 2 days when Mabel's mental health problems leads to a mental breakdown, and the husband can't deny the issues anymore, and she ends up getting committed. Then you have a period, it skips forward 6 months. No, it goes over a couple of days in the life of while she's committed, him trying to keep the kids going and keep the family going, and it goes on 6 months, and we see the night she comes home from the hospital. So the bit you were just talking about is once she's been committed.
Yeah.
And you have a portion where she doesn't even feature in the film for a long time, and it's just the dad, and he in the beginning he's clearly a good man. He sticks up for his workers when the employers are trying to like overwork him.
Yeah.
He brings everyone home at the beginning to feed them all, because they're basically the reason he doesn't make it home for their special night out when she goes off and cheats on him is because they were held up by like waterworks breaking or something happening. So he brings them all in, and she feeds them, and it's the first time you see her around other people, and you realise how socially inept she is, and she doesn't really understand what to do. And also how patient, like she is saying bizarre things, and really 99% of people would be very embarrassed by their partner behaving this way. But he's giving her nods and just smiling the whole time, reassuring her. And she ends up kind of, I don't think she's intentionally, she is flirting, but...
Oh, she is, definitely. She is. 100%.
But it's not malicious, and it's not even, I just don't think she can even control that part of her.
She's going over to like one of the workers, like, what's your name? And like,
she keeps calling him handsome.
Yeah, like squeezing his arm and going, this muscles, and he's like, Nick's like, you can see that he's slightly losing his patience, and then she's like, should we just sing? Should we just dance? And he's like, he's clearly like a bit.
Everyone's just like looking at their spaghetti, not looking up like.
I think they've met her before though, because they all seem to know.
Well, that was funny as well. One of them. She starts going around the table really bizarrely, sort of trying to be friendly, but not knowing how to do it, and going, "What's your name?"
Yeah.
And then they go,
Johnson.
Blah, 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 yeah. And then one of them, the second person she says it to, goes, you don't remember me? I was here 2 weeks ago. We had dinner. Our kids were eating outside, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes, I remember your wife and your kids, but not you. Yeah. It's just like, what the fuck is with this woman?
Like, I was trying to guess, like, when it came out in the 70s, what mental illness she was kind of... They were trying to say that she has. I guess they've never even said it.
Well, the director said...
Schizophrenia or something?
Well, I don't really know specific. Maybe bipolar would be the closest. But you also got to think that I don't even think those categories necessarily existed back then, and especially not in the public knowledge. It was... Like, I think this movie, even just with the idea of, you know, you're not a bad person if you're crazy, might have been radical at the time. Do you know what I mean? I think it's hard. We have more of a context of, say, like when you watch a movie in the 60s and you're like, wow, they were racist back then. Do you know what I mean? You have more of a context of how much that's changed. But I don't think we can appreciate just how unbelievably archaic and basic the knowledge of and the concept, the perception of mental health. Well, like his whole thing at the start is he's not denying. It's clear he's not embarrassed of her. Yeah. So he's not in denial in that sort of way. He's in denial. He gets very hot-tempered about anyone even implying there's something wrong with her. Because, I mean, look what happens. Like in those days, like there was no like, get on this pharmaceutical, you might have this problem, go to therapy. She got sectioned for 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see him snapping a little bit when he like goes back to the, keep calling it building site, but
it's a quarry, I think, or whatever.
A quarry, whatever it is. And then, you know, I think the workers that he's been so nice to are genuinely like asking, is she okay? Do you need anything? Yeah. At one point it just goes, she's got a screw loose. What do you want me to fucking do about it?
Yeah, well, I think They are, yeah. I think it is genuine, but it's again like they're less equipped even than he is. Like,
Yeah.
For his setting in life, like he's actually a pretty, I don't know what to describe, evolved thinker in regards to it. Like he's a very, and it hints at it at the start as well. Like the fact that he brings everyone into his home. You know, it's black people and Italians and Jews in there, and he's clearly a good man who takes people as they are and is open-minded about things. But so they're less even equipped to deal and understand and know what to say than he is. So they're just coming up like, oh, I heard Mabel's in the nut house. You doing okay?
Yeah, exactly,
and he's obviously reacting badly to it. But also, it's the pressure and the stress of it. Like he is just snapping at everyone. I love the characters. So when they go to the beach before he gives the kids beer.
Oh yeah.
He's picking up someone he works with is giving them a lift home. He says, "Drop me off here. I need to pick up my kids.
Yeah,
I'm going to take them to the beach." And his friend just says, "I'm going to come with you." And it's clearly he doesn't know what to do, but he thinks like, "Let me at least be around him right now, because like he's about to fucking lose it."
It was just making me laugh because like there's enough stigma around mental health today in 2022 still. Like even if you turn around to like most managers at work and was like, I'm sorry, but a lot of people wouldn't have enough trust in managers or whatever to tell them in the first place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even talking amongst friends is kind of like frowned upon in some parts of the world. Do you know what I mean? Like you need a very trusting relationship.
We're very lucky it's got so much better.
But even today, like if you turn around to like most managers at high profile companies, when you got all these targets and said, "Look, I'm really depressed, I can't work at the moment," they fucking laugh you out the door in most places. Do you know what I mean? And secondly, like the terminology was just, as you said, like just there, like imagine if I went up to someone at work, like one of my mates, and was like, oh, just like in the middle of an open plan office, and was like, "Oh, I heard your mum's in a nut house. Is she? Is she fine?" Or like everyone would be like, "What did you just say? Can we have a word?"
Yeah.
So I found that very like. I guess my point is it's evolved a lot, but there's still a lot to be done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I feel like even in the past handful of years, it's gotten so much better to the point where, like, it wasn't too long ago where people would kind of think, where people would say like, "Oh, what have they?" Like, if a celebrity was depressed,
oh yeah,
they say, "What are they depressed about?"
Yeah, man up.
Well, not even that. Like, "Oh, what do they have to be depressed about?"
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like now there is a genuine
concern.
There's a knowledge, but also the ignorance of it's kind of chipped away as well.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I get you.
But yeah, so he's losing it, and I felt so sorry for him in this part of the movie because he's just like his wife is. We don't know how long his wife's been in the nut house at this point.
Yeah.
But he's just losing the plot.
I mean, I guess he's got so much on his plate. He's still going to work because he's still got to feed the kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just assume the kids are at school and he has to keep leaving work to pick them up.
Yeah, no, there'll be an arrangement, I guess, with his mum and
look after the
mother-in-law.
Get back home, look after the 3 or 4 kids, get the dinner ready. He's got to do everything. Basically.
And you don't know, like I don't think visitation would have been much of a thing then. And
well, it did. One of the main points about the film when I realised that. Well, number one, I got a bit confused where the doctor finally came round and was trying to calm her down and give her sedation.
So I got the feeling he was
a family member.
He was a family friend and
the doctor.
Oh,
okay, because he was saying, "Oh, I'm part of the family," and trying to make it. And she was
because this is the scene when they actually get her committed, where she has the mental breakdown in the first half.
Basically, so I was trying to work that out for ages, and I think at this point I stopped it, and I was like, "Oh, I've had a really, really long day at work, and my mind has just." I looked at, I paused it, and there's still another hour to go, and I was like, "I can't take any more of this tonight." So I'm going to resume this tomorrow when I've had my coffee in the morning. I'm fresh. It was quite a hard watch up until then, but then I resumed it. I think this morning, And then I was thinking, like, before I resumed it, like, I wonder what they would have actually done to her in the committed place. Like, what would the treatments be? And luckily, well, not luckily, it got answered later on when he just... I guess Nick was feeling guilty about it the whole time, so he just finally popped down and was like, was it good in there? Like, well,
let's not get into the last section of the movie just yet, because I want to sort of... I want to get your idea, because I know how I think of the movie. Because it's interesting you say that. Did you laugh at all?
There was some bits... I feel kind of bad saying this in a way. There was some bits where I did laugh, like when for some reason this guy brings round another set of kids.
Oh yeah.
And then he's like, I don't want to leave it. I don't want to leave them with you. She's acting so weird.
He's supposed to be bringing them round for like a little play date.
And then Nick.
And then after a while, she's like, "Why are you still here?" Yeah, he's like, I don't want to leave because you're a psycho.
Yeah, Nick like turns back up, and then when he turns back up, he's in the bedroom with her.
Yeah.
So I think,
but not doing anything.
I know.
Like his kids run up there to do something, and he's like trying to get her out.
And then they start scuffling in like the middle of the like corridor, and then like he's just like, get out, and then at the same time Mabel's there like, should we make spaghetti? Like she just says. I did start laughing at that. There was bits where I felt bad, but I did.
Yeah, for me,
you know what I mean?
For me, I'm either like feeling really, really fucking sad or cracking up during this movie. That was always my memory of it, and still my experience of it. I wouldn't call it a happy film, but it's a fucking but it's not the humor's not dark either. Like the dark bits, I feel sad. It's not a dark comedy. The bits that crack me up are kind of like the sweet moments, where like the sweet bits of Mabel shine through. One bit that always cracked me up was when she's waiting for ages to pick up her kids from school. And she keeps asking people for the time and all that.
Oh yeah, but she's running along. Yeah.
Finally, her kids get there, and she takes them home, and she sits on the front porch or whatever you call it in America, and she just starts asking them, "What do you think about me? Do you think I'm dumb and stupid and a bit weird sometimes?"
And then she's like,
and then the kid's like, "I think you're beautiful and really smart and cool, and sometimes nervous."
No, the best,
But it's just the fact that she needed, like, she needed to ask her kids, like, "Am I okay?"
Actually, that was a bit within that dialogue that cracked me up as well, because the kids started like giving her a head massage. She goes, "That feels good. What are hands?"
Yeah, why do hands feel so good? Yeah, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because
that was funny. Yeah.
What did you like Mabel? Did you like them as a couple? Were you rooting for him? Did you think she was a bitch because she cheated him in the first minute? Or
well, I kind of got it straight away that there was something not right with her. So at the end of the day, that thing with her cheating on him, I know it was her fault, but Nick never turned back up. He got delayed at work. Not Nick's fault. But I just feel that if you leave Mabel to her own devices, she's just going to go and do shit. So
it's in the title of the movie as well. Like, calling it Under the Influence. Obviously, that's usually to do with booze and stuff.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I'd be surprised if that was it. But I feel like that kind of sums it up. Like, she is under the influence of this mental illness. That's not being treated. But did you like her? Because I always think
I did.
With special needs people and mentally ill people, people sometimes have this approach to them where they nearly insultingly write them off as you know the way you judge another person. Patronising way of just being like, oh, it's not their fault or whatever. You got to be nice to them, or you have to like them. Whereas you should be nice to everyone. But what I mean is, there's special needs people I've met to varying degrees where I thought, inherently, regardless of whatever, I like you, and other ones where I've met, like, irregardless of your condition, I don't like. Like, I just don't like the personality that is shining through. Oh, I do like the personality that is shining through. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I'm asking is, take even out the context of her mental illness. Did you like her?
Yeah, I did like her. I think I'm going to discount that whole cheating thing off the table.
All right, fair enough.
Because I don't think she'd done that with any malice.
No.
I think that's the mental illness.
Yeah.
But the reason I did like her in the bits that I guess her personality actually came through, where she was overcoming the mental illness in the small segments of it, I think she was genuinely like a very caring like mother and a very caring person to Nick. And obviously she is a likeable character because everyone turns up for her release party and they're all saying how much they love her and stuff like that. So I think she's generally nice. She's
and
struggling with
there's elements of the mental side of her that are really likeable as well. Like her how eccentric she is funny and fun. Like,
I mean, I guess Declan, I've been in a real life situation of this where I guess this is why this film, I'm still knackered today for it. I guess why this film tired me out a lot, because I've actually dealt with these situations with my granddad having dementia, number one, where 1 minute he'd never do anything violent to me. I think with these kind of like, I'm not.
But another minute he would kick off.
I'm not going to call that a mental illness.
Well, no, but it's the same thing.
I mean,
sort of. Something someone can't control.
Yes, I've been in this situation 3 times. Next thing he'd kick off, he'd always target my grandma. I guess because they've been married for like 60, 70 years. She would be the butt of all his aggression that he can't... I've seen him go from boom to boom. So that was one thing. Another thing, Declan, is when my dad had post-traumatic amnesia after his brain injury. For some reason, me and Mum were the targets of it. He didn't know what he was doing, but Andrew could do no wrong. And the third one is when I used to work in St Pancras Hospital on the geriatric ward with people with dementia as well. 1 minute they'd be like, come, like trying to hug me. The next hour they're trying to like attack me. So like it brought back loads of flashbacks that really tired me out. Oh, shit. And it was kind of like, I just get totally what Nick's trying to deal with here. So like, it was kind of a good film for me to watch for that, but it was really knackering. But I guess going back to my original point.
So you naturally relate to Nick a fuckload of this.
I mean, I don't naturally relate to him, Declan, because I'm not dealing with it day to day.
Well, you have dealt with it.
I have dealt with it day to day in my work life and personal life. I've dealt with it before, and I totally get his struggles and he was trying to be the best man he could be with the situation that was given to him. But going back to my original point, I do like Mabel. I'm taking that off the table with the cheating. When she shone through in the little bits that she did beat it, I thought she was a decent person at heart. Yeah.
And also, I felt for her so much. And you know the little moments where she's like the dinner scene where she's feeding everyone spaghetti when they've cut all Nick's co-workers, and she's trying. She knows she's weird. She 100% knows that she's completely off her trolley and comes across weird and socially inept, and she's trying to nearly like do. She kind of like, she has modes where she's in copycat mode where she's like, I've seen other humans do this, so I'm going to do it. And then she has times where her real ideas or the real things she'd like just would come to her mind come out, and then she realises she looks fucking crazy. Or just the times where she's really struggling and you can see, because I've been there, not to that degree, but I've been there, and a lot of people have been there where you really just can't turn your brain off and make it work right, and you're just like, give me, and there's no escape from it, because you can, you know, if your leg's broken, you can sit down. If you're in pain, you can at least, you know, like take medication or whatever, but you can't. Your brain and your mental health is the filter through which you perceive and experience everything, and it's so linked to how you feel about yourself. And back then, it wasn't even considered
a thing,
a health, like it wasn't considered how it's considered today. It was just you, like your mental health was completely wrapped up in your identity as you, as a person, your personality and your competency, and it was just harrowing in those sort of moments. I
mean, like, I guess they've done a lot of. I guess Nick unfortunately done a lot of things that probably weren't right in the circumstances. Like, what I'm going to is the dinner party was one of them. The release party.
So let's get into that then. If you're talking about that, so Mabel gets out of
the release party,
the nut house, and Nick, like you said, is basically invited about 100 people to the house, ready for her to come home. Yeah. So again.
So it's like, and that came to me like, you know, I've heard people say stuff about people with depression, you know, turn around and say, you know, I'm not feeling too right at the moment, I don't really want to go out or whatever. Just stop being depressed. And it's like, what? You think people can just turn it off with a tap, can they? Like a tap, can they? Like, and these situations, I guess what the point that I'm getting to about the wrong decisions that were made about Mabel is obviously she suffers from the mental illness, and you don't want to overload people's minds. So like 100 odd people at once, it's going to be like a deer in the headlights.
And I remember watching that.
You know what I mean?
I remember watching that the first time, because there's you know, like we've spoken about, I have a thing where I don't get scared in movies anymore. I wish I did. I love horror movies, but I just don't actually really, very rarely get scared in a movie. But my 100%, my thing that can make me literally like stop a movie or run out of the room is uncomfortable moments.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. And I forgot how uncomfortable this movie was at times. And I remember watching it the first time where I actually nearly had to like walk away or like look from the doorway in that scene. Where I was just, cause for what I was predicting to happen, like when Mabel came in and saw all these people and how overwhelmed she'd get, and how horrible it was going to be. Luckily, that doesn't actually happen, because Nick's mother, who might have been seen in a bad light, because she's nearly like Mabel's nemesis for the first half of the movie, but it's not malicious. She's just the one who's like cutting through the bullshit and says, "This woman's not well. Like, she cannot be looking after these kids. She's fucked in the head." But she is the one who makes Nick and makes everyone go home. Yeah. And Nick can't even do it. Like, he's just like, you go in and tell him, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and Nick's weird because he always seems very on top. Like, he seems half on top of things all the time, and half also completely mental half the time. Like, he's a bit odd himself, isn't he?
I guess with Nick, he's trying to show everyone he knows, including the people he works with, or trying to put across a perception that they're normal, even though that everyone knows it's not the case. So he's like, we're having a massive party and we're going to get drunk, and everyone's like, I don't, for numerous times, like, this isn't a good idea. But he still wants to paint them, his whole family, which he sees as, I know he knows that there's something wrong, but he's trying to like put across the perception that they can live normally, which unfortunately is not the case. Like,
see, I don't know if it's inconsistent. It's not the way I perceive it, or it's inconsistency with the writing. Probably the first one, but I kind of always got a bit confused by Nick in that way, because it felt like he was half the time he was fully. He had no qualms. Do you know what it was? Actually, it's more a case of this. You're right in the sense that the public perception, he had a natural inclination to do that. Which, let's face it, anyone would to one extent or another. Whereas, when it was just them two, or just a family, he had no qualms about her bizarreness and her quirks, unless it was getting volatile. He, like, if anything, appreciated it. Yeah. And it was probably a big chunk of what attracts him to her in the first place. And not necessarily in a, oh, you're broken, let me try and fix you sort of way. I think he genuinely just did. You know, we love freaks. We love oddball characters ourselves. We do. Like, some people just love it.
But then again, we don't know how. There's like a lot of unanswered questions, like how long they've been married.
Has it got worse?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Maybe like when they first met, she was totally fine, and then it like kind of came on, like, and he's still trying to deal with it. But I guess Nick's main problem is that you never see him once asking for help. Like, he never asks for help at all, and he just tries to deal with it in his way that's completely actually wrong in a way.
That's such a good point. Actually, he doesn't, does he?
Like, he never asks for it. Basically, whenever anyone asks him if he wants help, his ultimate or automatic reaction is to be like, "Fuck off." No, I'm dealing with this, and shouting in people's faces and getting aggressive because he knows deep down that he needs help. But I guess it's like today. Most men will not even ask for help, or if they're
don't ask for directions.
Yeah, like, do you know what I mean? Or like go to the doctors even if they're on death's door. But I guess in the 1970s, asking another person for help is seen as one of the ultimate betrayals or weaknesses.
Well, especially about something like that.
Yeah,
especially when
exactly.
it's your family.
Exactly. So he's seen as the breadwinner, which is true from going to the quarry. So for him to turn around and be like, "Look, I really need help from whoever it is. My wife is not well at all," I suppose would be seen as a massive weakness.
Yeah, also an element of denial.
And denial. Yeah.
One thing I want to bring up is, and I think it's a testament to how fucking good the performances are in this film, that we've basically spoken about them like they're real people the whole time.
Yeah.
We've not once spoken about acting.
No.
In this whole podcast so far. Because the performances are unbelievable. Like, Peter Falk is as good as what's her name, playing Mabel, but what I like about the writing and the acting by the main actress is it feels so authentically believable. Do you know what I mean? Like the way, like the little ticks and little things she does, and the way she comes out with stuff. It never rings false once. Like, it never feels like that's someone acting unwell, or that's someone writing dialogue or a scene for a mentally unwell person.
The performance was so good. The only thing that I can compare it to is Dead Man's Shoes.
Yeah, with the special needs.
With the special needs guy, who I genuinely thought had special needs. That's how good he was.
He was phenomenal, but in that subtle, untangible way where you can't really put your finger on why he's so good.
It was the mannerisms. He had all the mannerisms down to the T of, like, just being not as fast.
But it's that uncanny. It's kind of like, the way even the best CGI.
Yeah, just can't.
You can kind of tell there's that uncanny valley where it's like, I don't know what it is. I can't describe it. You give me a million years, I wouldn't be able to figure out what. But something's wrong there.
Yeah,
Whereas that performance in Dead Man's Shoes and her performance is just, you really do, and also because it's that sort of style of movie where it is going for fantasism and the conversations and stuff. It's not very cinematic.
Yeah.
So it comes together to really, you forget you're watching performances in this. It's amazing.
But they kind of like, going back to this, and I don't want to go into like social debates or anything because we're talking about films.
This is a happy, safe.
But they kind of
movies.
like, they always class people with not a severe learning disability. They're always classed as mild learning difficulties, which like it can be seen, which is all the perception, because you could turn around to me and be like, they haven't got mild learning difficulties, they've got severe learning difficulties.
Well, at the end of the day, all these things are just blanket terms that are, it's semantics, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, I guess I did compare this film. I mean, that did pop into my head, Silver Linings Playbook. But at the same time, I can't really compare that because, as you said earlier in this podcast, that had the whole happy ending, which I don't think
it was romanticised.
Is the case, yeah, like where this actually shows the real grittiness.
But I don't know about you, but I came away with this
but I still felt good.
Yeah,
at the end.
And it was nearly it was like a better earned feeling. It meant more because it felt truer.
Yeah.
And there wasn't. It's hard to put your finger on exactly why you feel good at the end of the movie, because we'll go for it. So the coming home party happens. They send majority of the guests home. It's just like very close family. It's like 6 or 7 people. And Mabel gets in, and she's very frail and very kind of like scared, and just a bit like she looks like she might like collapse, pop at any moment. And they're sort of chatting, and it's the first time you see her with her dad. It's the only scene where you ever see her dad in the movie.
Yeah,
And
the little frail guy, glasses, Adolf.
And when we talk about, men from that era, from Nick's generation having emotional muscles or understanding to deal with this, her dad, who obviously comes from the generation previous, he really doesn't know how to deal with it. And it's a really sad moment. It's a really good piece of writing and great acting in the moment, because it's one little moment, but it tells you everything about their relationship. Where she kind of sits on her dad's lap, just however it happens, and she's hugging her dad, and sort of kissing his forehead, and like
go away, basically.
Yeah, and she's kissing him forward and like hugging him and embracing him, like a little kid nearly. And he kind of goes, "Oh, would you go sit with your mother?"
No, the dad wants to go, innit?
Yeah, the dad's he's just like, no,
he's basically no. I need to go because if it's spaghetti again, I just don't like spaghetti.
Yeah, he's saying I don't like spaghetti.
And I'm like, this geezer just can't do it.
Yeah, and you don't know who he is yet when he's saying that.
That's what I was trying to
Then you find out he's a dad, and you're like, you were trying to go 2 seconds ago. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, then he says, go sit with your mother. And he doesn't say it in like a mean way. He says it nearly in a, oh my God, I'm so uncomfortable. Like, he just doesn't have any sort of... And he is a coward. That is what he is, essentially.
Yeah, he's a pussy, yeah.
So anyway, so they all sit down to have dinner, and they're chatting away. And Mabel just clearly wants them all to go, because again, her happy place is just with Nick.
Yeah.
And she it's good as well, because this movie, not only could you not make it nowadays, it's great to make that it was made in the 70s. It's perfect because not just because of how little people knew about mental health, but how awkward people are about, how what's the word, uptight people were about things.
Yeah.
Mabel says, you all should go because me and Nick need to go to bed.
Yeah.
And they're all like, oh, you shouldn't say that, Mabel, be quiet. And then she keeps saying it on, and then she starts commenting about how one of her friends that's come around to see her, how big her ass has got.
Oh,
she keeps saying, like, telling her, your ass has gotten huge. Have you seen this? Nick, look at it.
But basically, the sad thing about this is her release party, and she's not been cured in like any way whatsoever.
And like you said before, she briefly starts talking about what it was like in there. And she was talking about having shock treatment and being electrocuted. And
like, we'd play games in the morning, and then in the evening they'd shock us before we went to bed. And I was like...
Which tells you more than anything about... Like, we're trying to think of what was the average Joe's understanding of it. That was cutting-edge medical science's understanding of mental health.
They used to fucking do lobotomies.
I don't... Yeah, they were probably still doing lobotomies at that time.
It's like, when she first came out, like, for about 5 minutes, I thought, oh, she seems a lot better.
What she
like,
was
more into it, but then, like, later
she was in her shell.
Yeah, but then, like later, you could slowly, and this was good writing as well, you could slowly see her going back to it, and it's like, oh, no, it hasn't worked at all, which I wasn't expecting it to work, but yeah.
But really, like, what is it you want to work? Because you don't want to do Equilibrium, where it's like, take this pill to take away your emotions and feelings, like that movie. You want to basically have her, because really, like, he wouldn't want her like that. He loves her weird little things she comes out with. You just want her not to fall apart at the seams. That's it working, and it didn't work though. You are right.
But the sad thing about it is, what's going to happen? She's just going to keep having breakdowns, essentially, and just going in and out of that place that doesn't work in the first place, and just live in a bad cycle. Because
what happens is the family all go home, and it's just Mabel and the kids, and he's starting to lose it a bit again, because she's up on the couch and she's dancing about and sort of singing to herself.
Slap you down.
And he's saying, I'll slap you if you don't, blah, blah, blah. And they're going at each other. And then he's trying to get her off the couch, and the kids are kind of not understanding it because they're all really young, and they're running to defend her because they think he's attacking her.
Yeah.
And then he turns around and Mabel runs into the toilet and gets a razor and starts cutting at her wrist.
Horrible, yeah.
And he runs in and grabs her and stops her. But the kids don't understand what she's doing, so they still are sort of they're defending
beating them,
defending her from him, who's trying to stop her from killing herself. And then it all goes crazy, and they're running about, and the kids are trying to stop it, and this and that and the other, and eventually it just kind of calms down, and they're nearly like they kind of like put the kids to bed,
and they're worried because
she relaxes again.
Yeah.
And they stay with her, and they all calm down, and the kids slowly fall asleep.
The kids are worried because they get sent away, and then he has to come back down, and like. He's like, oh, the kids think I'm beating you, so you go up and like tuck them in. I was like, fucking hell, mate.
And then it kind of just calms down. And as they're coming down the stairs, she even says, like, I'm crazy. And he's fucking tell me about it. And then really kind of like, she's back again, and she's like, oh, I think I was just tired. And you can see that episode's passed, and they're happy again, and they clean up, and they're sort of like stopping and having a dance and kissing each other, and they put on some music, and they're happy, and it ends there. And the credits roll over this like nice music they're playing, and them sort of like laughing and joking as they clean up, and you realise that is what their life's going to be like.
Yeah,
the bad episodes, and then the good times in between, and as long as it doesn't completely become volatile or whatever, or, you know,
they should be able to last it.
Yeah,
maybe.
like they're okay with it. Like that is.
It is what it is.
Yeah, they're fine. Not fine with it, but that is their life, and it's gonna be happy times when it's not terrible.
Yeah,
and I don't know why, but it really does. It always left me. And today when I watched it again. It really, for some reason, like what I just described probably sounds absolutely fucking horrible, but I assure you, if you connect with this film the right way, you'll come away feeling really good.
Well, yeah, I think the biggest comparison that I can compare it with, number one, I enjoyed it. Number one, just to see, like, obviously this was made in the 70s, like just the differences from then to now, and stuff like that.
Time machine, especially when it's done like authentically, like, you know, like a lot of films from that era was like, you know, Dirty Harry's great, but it's not exactly real life. And
I'm not even going to use, I guess, a modern take on it would be Silver Linings Playbook, but not really. I'm going to use a film that I watched recently, which gave me exactly the same feelings of like, I'm really, really knackered after watching this, but at the same time, I have a lot of hope. And that is Manchester by the Sea.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I've always not watched that because I've heard it's so harrowing.
Okay, so it's not specifically about dealing with like mental health. It's about, you know, the guy's brother, Casey Affleck, dies heart attack, so he has to look after his nephew. And it's much like Woman Under the Influence. There's not really a plot to it in any way. It's just following their daily lives, just dealing with it, and it is harrowing, yeah, but at the end of it, it's also very life affirming.
But how good are those sort of movies where it's not like
just character driven?
Some of the most life affirming feelings I come away from certain movies are when it doesn't even have any sort of what you'd call a happy ending necessarily, at least on paper.
I mean, this doesn't.
Okay, yeah, but you came across feeling good. So there's something else they've connected with you. Yeah. To give you that feeling, and I love that in movies when they can do that.
You know, I just connected with the characters in it. Like sometimes I don't want to see like giant robots like fighting aliens or something. I just want to see like real life stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? And just think,
what you want from
there's still good in the world.
The basic innate, like on a fucking neurological basis, like what you want from any movie or any song or anything is a feeling or an array of feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like in movies like this, where part of the reason why it might not even be as an intense a feeling, but it'll probably last longer. Yeah. Like I've loved this film. I haven't seen this film for at least 10, 12, 13 years, and I've always loved it. It's always just been locked there in the back of my head as one of my favourite films ever. And I think it's when it's that believable, it only needs to give you that little sliver of hope.
Yeah.
To to really, that it shines a lot brighter, and also for the fact that because it is steeped in realism, the more of a smaller sliver of hope it gives you, the more it rings true. So the more it means to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's at the end of the day, like you'd never watch the most exciting football match on earth that was scripted.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you? It means nothing.
No, yeah.
The reason, like football, objectively, a lot of time is boring, but the reason it means something is because it's actually happening, and even if it's rare, like Leicester winning the title or
exactly.
coming back to win a game when you're behind for most of it. The reason it means something is because firstly it actually happened, but also it very rarely happens.
Yeah, exactly.
So it actually means something, and I think these films that you buy into that it could actually happen, you connect with in a different way, and it means more, even if they give you a lot less to hope for.
I suppose a good example of that would be Tyson Fury coming back from mental health, getting knocked out, and then getting up, and then going on to not lose.
Yeah.
It kind of just sums up this, just in a way. Yeah,
that's a great example.
Yeah,
that's a fucking brilliant example. Do you know what? I couldn't beat that. So may as well fucking end there, mate.
Yeah.
So until next time.
Look
after your mental health and go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone, and good luck.
Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.